right, everybody. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here. And of course, I'm joined as always with my co hosts, Darian Smith and Jimmy Marion. And guys, it's game week, a rivalry game week, as the Memphis Tigers travel down to Protective Stadium to take on our UAB Blazers. The battle for the bones is back this Saturday, 11 a.m. kickoff, an early kickoff. But if you can't make it down, it will be televised nationally on ESPN2. And if you are making the trip down to Protective Stadium Saturday, make sure that you wear black because I think they're doing a blackout for this game. But guys, it's awesome to have this rivalry back. I feel like UAB and Memphis have always been true rivals, and it's just good to have this game back. I think it's the best trophy in all of sports, the rack of ribs. But guys, it's exciting times. Darian, can you shed, before we get into actually previewing this game, can you talk a little bit about your experience playing against Memphis and what that was like?
Yeah, I'm gonna share it in just a minute. Just give me a second. Toss it over to Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy. Well, how excited are you to have this rivalry back?
Hey, I'm excited. I was going to ask you, John. UAB, I should say, has not fared very well when you have been at the beach. So my question for you is, I know you'll be coming back from the beach on Saturday. So does that technically count as you're at the beach? What's the ruling on that?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think it doesn't since we're coming back. But my thing, Jimmy, is I don't know if I need to wear the lucky hat again because obviously it didn't bring us luck against UTSA. So I don't know if I should just burn it or what.
Hey, and it's hard for me to blame Hampton. He was a little cranky that day, but I mean, he's a week old. So how about this? We'll keep the Lucky Hampton and the lucky hat alive for home games only until proven otherwise.
There you go.
Yeah,
I like that.
I think we're gonna need both as we coming up. But yeah,
we're gonna have to put the hat on Hampton at this point.
It's time to combine. It's Power Rangers over here. But yeah, as for me, the Battle of the Bones, I would like to make it known that never lost to Memphis. So that's that. What did it mean for me? I love rivalry games, man. I feel like if you can't, you should, as a player, you should want to get up for each and every game. But for a rivalry game that your fans really want, it should give you extra juice, especially at home. You should have that extra oomph. You do feel something as a player. I'm not gonna act. Do you know, when you playing just outside playing, but you know who your rival is, whatever that could be freaking pickleball, or it could be dodgeball. You know who your rival is, and you're gonna give it your all to beat that one person. Yeah, I feel the same way. I used to feel that about Memphis. I used to feel it about Southern Miss, and we never lost to those teams. Even though we had losing records when I was here, we never lost to them, and I'm proud of that. So I think our guys should feel the urgency here.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that, Darren. And I mean, they always say rivalries throw the records away. I know Memphis is coming in 4-2 and UAB's, coming in 2-5. But yeah, I just can't wait to see these two teams on the gridiron. It's been a long time. I feel like they hadn't met since like 2012. So I mean, it's been 11 years. So yeah, and I know, the UAB Memphis basketball rivalry too. But yeah, it's good to see this team or see this game back on the schedule. I'm curious to know what Memphis fans think. I know that we interact with a lot of their basketball fans on Twitter. But I want to know what the Memphis diehard football fans feel about this rivalry with UAB. Do they consider it a true rivalry? I mean, Darren, you just said the players, but you guys would, feel it on the field during the game from Memphis, from the players. So.
Yeah, I have a feeling that, they have ascended and passed us. Like when we were playing, we was kind of on the same level as programs. They have a historic basketball program, but overall our programs are kind of on the same level. Well, they have taken another step over us. Let's be real about it. I know they're looking out for, they want to go to P5 status. But yeah, so they probably feel like we are like a little cousin to them. I'd assume. So they have had more success than we have. But I think that we're gonna go into this game. I think we have something to prove. I was just able to kind of watch the first half. I still got to finish the second half of the UTSA game, and we throughout all the schematic stuff, we were really getting out physical in that game, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be a point of emphasis is like these guys just wanted it more. They felt the urgency more. They had more juice in a lot of instances, and they were really not grilled. And we can get into like run fits, safety run fits, and stuff I've been moaning and complaining about all year. But for the most part, when it was time to like just man up, mano a mano, our guys were getting pushed back. And when you, as a player, when your coach shows that on the film, and you have a rivalry game at home, I expect guys to come firing off the ball, talking noise. I need guys to be really physical here, and maybe we'll have a chance to take this one. I really do think we'll have a chance, but after that embarrassment of guys, just our tight ends got really whooped. This is our first time our tight ends really got whooped against UTSA. It was bad. Like their ends really pinched the hole down. So I really want to see us get off the ball and make a statement, and we should have the juice for this game.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Darren. I mean, obviously, I'm at the beach, so I haven't been able to rewatch the film, but I remember thinking that, like, our tight ends are kind of non-existent this game. And, I mean, you look at the box score, too, like, pretty much non-existent. But, hey, it's a rivalry game, chance to bounce back. Again, 11 o'clock this Saturday on ESPN2. Vegas opened the line at Memphis as a 3-point favorite, and like it has been all year, Memphis has become a 5.5-point favorite, creeping 6 as we were recording this episode. But let's kind of just take it like we always do. Let's look at that offense for Memphis. And I mean, they've got an experienced quarterback. I know he's young, but he's played, all this year and some last year. Seth Hennigan comes into this ball game already thrown it for 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, but 7 interceptions. So hey, maybe our secondary can still get some interceptions this Saturday. But Jimmy, what do you think about that quarterback that UAB is going to face this Saturday and Seth Hennigan?
Well, I think to your point, he's experienced. He's obviously talented. They're going to spread the ball around. So I'm certainly going to be looking for that matchup between Zeno and Hennigan to see who could potentially have a bigger day. But, I would certainly consider Hennigan. He's going to be a challenge for us defensively.
Definitely. And Darren, when you kind of watch the film, what would you kind of describe Seth Hennigan as? Is he just like he's not really a dual threat. I mean, is he just a pocket passer? When you watched that Tulane game specifically last week?
I saw earlier this year. I was just looking up stats. I'm seeing Memphis live some, and I saw a couple of highlights. I wasn't able to like really sit down and digest the film like how I would want to. But I did see earlier in the year he did have like 69 to 70 yards rushing in one game. So I guess he possessed that ability. But
yeah, he has 3 rushing touchdowns too. So I kind of want to backtrack.
Yeah, but he still doesn't come off as a dual threat.
No,
I would say Zeno is more of a dual threat than Hennigan is. I think he's like one of those guys that'll run it if he has to. He's like a pro style kind of quarterback. Like, it's kind of hard to explain. He doesn't really do anything to really wow you, but he does make some good. He has some accurate throws in certain moments. Against Tulane, it was kind of up and down, but Tulane has a really good defense.
Yeah.
Tulane's front is amazing, and their back end is pretty solid as well. He did make some throws, and he has some weapons in Blankhamsey and Taylor. Those are going to be his main weapons. Then he has a running back out the backfield in Watson. that he will throw it to as well. He's a dual threat. He's kind of like our school, right? He can run and he catch passes. And so definitely a guy we need to watch out for. I am worried about our secondary's ability to cover those receivers, like the way, especially how Cephas was kind of get us in one when he got us in 1-on-1.
Yeah.
He kind of was able to have his way. So hoping that Blankham see that we can blanket him and we can find ways to bracket him in coverage and also just kind of neutralize those two weapons. Their running game has been up and down. It's an up and down running game. So I'm not really sure what to make of that. Offensive line is solid. I would say this. I'm scared. I don't know if we'll be able to get pressure. And that's what I'm scared of. Like, it's not like their offensive line is awesome. But, I mean, UTSA's wasn't awesome, and they kept Frank Harris's jersey clean, which Frank Harris did get the ball out quick a lot. But I'm scared that we won't have enough pressure. I would say this. It's a rivalry game. The D linemen should be fired up, and they need to play more physical. Only guy I felt like that really played physical that game was Michael Fairbanks on the edge. I felt like he's really improved as the year went on. I need more from Little. I need more from Desmond Little. Like he didn't have a good game at all. It's just not physical. You can look at the difference between the two teams on each side, and you can see who is being physical and who is kind of just trying to avoid blocks and get around. And the only guy that really seemed to be mixing it up was Fairbanks. Hopefully our guys really take the challenge and we can get some pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah, that's going to be the key. I mean, if you allow Hennigan to sit back there and have all day to throw, I mean, I don't care how good your secondary is. If you can't get pressure on the quarterback, he's going to find an open receiver at some point. And that's something that UAB didn't. And I know you said, Frank Harris got the ball out quick. But there are a lot of times, though, that he didn't get out quick and he had like all day to throw. And that's kind of how Cephas, beat UAB. But you also got to think about, too, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, the one time they got to the quarterback and got a sack, what does UTSA do? Nail a 53-yard field goal. So it's like, of course. But Darren, what do you think they can do? Because it's obvious that they, are kind of struggling up front. Do you just blitz some to kind of put pressure on Hennigan? Because it's obvious that UAB just sitting back in that base defense 4-3, just letting teams pick them apart left and right. Sometimes that's not going to work. Like, do you just say screw it, just send some safety blitzes or linebacker blitz, or what do you think they need to do if the defensive line kind of struggles again this game?
I think you get creative with it. One thing I did, USF has had numbers put up on them left and right. But I don't think it's not to the fault of Todd Orlando. One thing I realized after watching USF, they tried. I can appreciate a defensive coordinator that tried everything. That touchdown to T-Palm on the slant, it was a zone blitz that they did when they and it's so creative. They dropped their end. They dropped the end on one side and they sent the pressure on the other side. So it was kind of like an overload pressure to one side. And it almost got there, and we had to throw the ball quick. And actually, the end was kind of right in that window. He just missed the ball, and since he missed it, it was a touchdown. It was right there. I like him trying, like, get creative, because I look at Memphis on defense, and they will send pressure, and I'm scared about that. I'm like, oh God, like they're sending pressure. They got guys walked up, they're sending them, they're dropping them back, they're being creative with their blitzes. I think we probably, in the first half, I saw us blitz like once. And at one time, we threw right into a screen. So I wonder if they kind of slowed us down on the blitzing, because that was the one time you didn't want to blitz. But, yeah, man, I hope that we don't sit there and be vanilla, because I don't believe in our ability to get there with our 4-down linemen consistently against this offensive line. I don't think that'll happen. Now, if we send the guy here and there, we just be creative with it, and I think we should send the pressure and just kind of force him to be there, because you said if Hennigan has time to sit back there, he has good weapons. I like their receivers. If Hennigan has time, they're gonna they're gonna score, and so we have to find creative ways to get to them.
And one of those receivers, guys, is you mentioned him earlier, Darian, is Rock Taylor, and he's from Oxford, Alabama. So I always like to kind of look to see, is there some local flavor you would assume that he would, in addition to the Memphis contingency that will be making the trip, you would think that he's going to have some support there as well. And, without looking it up, I do vaguely recall the previous UAB staff being involved in Rock Taylor's recruitment and possibly being one of his top schools before he inevitably signed with Memphis. And you look at a guy like him, he didn't start off, super hot to begin the year, but he's had 3 straight 100+ yard performances catching the ball. So he's going to be a really difficult cover at 6'3", 215 pounds. So he's certainly for Blazer fans, if you're looking for a guy to watch at receiver, number 3 is going to be your guy from Memphis.
So with you, Jimmy, thanks for that, because you just named out his size, 6'3", 215. That kind of scares me too, because I know Tyke Ola Keller. I'm getting it. I'm thinking about the
Kellogg.
cereal.
It's Kellogg, the cereal. It is Kellogg, yeah.
But he gave us problems, and half the time he just turns into a power forward, boxed us out, and caught the ball. Like, he didn't. It was just the back shoulder, and he just put our guy on his hip and made sure they was there. He was strong enough. He did the little subtle push off, and it was a catch. So we do have problems with that. But he's a little smaller than Tyke, so maybe that won't be such a thing. But they also have Blankenship. He complements him so well. He's the guy that you get the ball to him in space, and he will make you miss. Like, he is no joke with the ball, and he has a good burst. So if it's like, if we're not in position, or if we miss a tackle, he can split the safeties and he's gone. So they have those 2 receivers really, really complement each other really well. And then they have a dangerous back out the backfield as far as in rushing and pass receiving threat. I feel like he can make plays against our linebackers. So I do think, and it's like a pro style kind of offense. They do they do multiple things. I do think how we create pressure. I'm not saying we got to sit in the house every time, or I'm just saying that we just don't need to be so vanilla in our looks. We got the 200 formations on offense. We need at least 50 of them on defense, and we need to find ways to confuse them. But I know we little nicked up here and there. We dealing with a lot of injuries, John.
Yeah, for sure. They're trying to get to the bye week, and from the press conference, Monday, Steve Irvine tweeted out that Isaiah Jacobs is out for the remainder of the year with the ACL. So that does kind of stink, and I hate it for Isaiah. Hope he's able to bounce back and come back next year better and get that healed up. So definitely was significant news. UAB is just kind of beat up. I mean, it's every team. You play 7 games and you play the gauntlet of a schedule that UAB has had through these 7 games and the teams they have faced during these 7 games. I mean, you are going to be nicked up and, battered and bruised. So UAB, just if they can just get one more week out of the guys and then rest up on the bye week, that would be critical for this UAB team.
I want the fans to remember that, like, we dealt with Zaire Flournoy, who was going to be a starting right guard, down for the season. We had a budding receiver in Iverson Hooks, who was doing his thing, bam, down for the season. We saw what Jacobs could do, and he was doing his thing, bam, down for the season. We don't know what's going on with Moran. I'm just going to say down for the season because that seems to be the trend, right? Boom. And then I'm just sticking with the offense right now. We have Badowski. Don't know what's happening with him. He hasn't been here for the last couple of days. He's not down for the season. So, and then we had Eli Ritchie into the transfer portal. So just to let you know, like, we had a lot of, and JC Sylvie was he's down for the season as well, one of our young budding tight ends. We're dealing with a lot of injuries with a team that already had depth issues, and then you go over the defense. We was having depth issues at linebacker, and the guy that took the spot, Charlie Gould, bam, down for the season. And I haven't seen Tyreek Howard back out there. Kevin Penn returned, but I haven't seen Tyreek Howard back out on defense. I know different teams are dealing with injuries, but this was a young team that was had some depth issues. And one thing we needed we really wanted was to stay healthy, and we haven't been able to do that. So just give the team some grace. Like, let us figure it out, but we're getting there.
Flame. And let's kind of flip it over for a few minutes real quick. I know we were already at 20 minutes plus, but let's talk about this Memphis Tiger defense. They seem kind of, really balanced. Is probably the best word to put it. Giving up, 150 yards rushing per game, but, Tulane was able to do that really well. And especially wear down that Memphis Tiger team in the second half, as Tulane seems to do this whole year. And passing yards allowed, they're giving up about 219 through the air. So hopefully Zeno and the receivers can find some luck early on and get comfortable. But like we talked about, with the defensive line putting pressure, that O line, and I know we just said they're kind of banged up, but that O line has to hold up for a few seconds. And by God, I don't even know if we need to get into empty looks this week. I mean, stick Skull back there or BB, and just have them there just in case somebody comes off the edge, which we talked about in the recap of the UTSA game. Trey Moore, AAC Defensive Player of the Week, of course, was just able to get to the backfield almost at ease. So that'll be something to watch for with this Memphis Tiger defense. But I want to talk about Chandler Martin, sophomore, 6 foot, 215 pound linebacker for Memphis. I mean, he's already got 33 solo tackles, a couple TFLs, a few TFLs this season. But Jimmy, what do you see out of this Memphis Tiger defense this week?
Yeah, on the note about Martin, he's actually had 9 or more tackles in 3 of the last 4 games. He had 11 against a good Tulane team this past week. So he's certainly a player to call out, number 11. Defensively for Memphis, they're only allowing opponents 23 points per game. That's that's good enough for 3rd in the American. They do give up a lot more yardage, though. They're ranked like sub 100 in yards per game. Where I see Memphis really jumping out in the screen to me is they're only allowing opponents to convert on 28% of their 3rd downs, which is really good. So something that Trent Dilfer had talked about at the presser this week was just how many times UAB was forced into 3rd downs against UTSA without looking up. I think it was 19 times, which was probably a season high, at least up there. And a lot of those times, UAB was forced into. They showed several graphics throughout the game where like the average 3rd down in distance was like 8+ yards. So it's going to be key for UAB to be successful in those early downs and not be forced in those 3rd and longs, because Memphis is just going to feast on those opportunities. I do think this is a potentially bad matchup for UAB. And I say that because, they're pretty solid, they being Memphis, defending the pass. Again, they're 3rd in the American and defending the pass, 218.8 passing yards per game for the opponent. And they're not as successful defending the run. And you think about that from the UAB perspective, like we're not very successful. We have not been statistically at running the ball, and we like to throw it. So it's certainly something, to be on the lookout for.
Yeah, but I would say this. I would take this matchup over UTSA's because A, we're at home, and B, looking at them, I know that linebacker, he's a dude. They're solid all over. Like, there's not really a weakness per se, but they don't have a dude up front neither. Like, they don't have that guy that pops out on film, and that's what we really struggle with. If you're a good player, like, we can handle that. But when you have a dude up there, that's what's really been kicking our butt, and I don't see that on this team. So I'm encouraged by that. I think we should be able to hold up because they don't have that special player. And so I'm encouraged by that. Secondly, I know the statistics show that we want to throw the ball, but I think that we can run the ball. I think the running. So when I was looking back at the UTSA film, it probably seemed like we just couldn't run the ball because they were more physical. A lot of times we at least played them to a stalemate to where on the other side of the ball, like they kind of pushed our defense around and they was able to just do it that way. And our safety run fits were horrible again. It was the opposite. So we kind of was able to make creases, but if you go back and look at those runs, they were physical enough to have our running back kind of have to figure it out at the line of scrimmage. And once he found the hole, the safety was right there. So a lot of times their safety was playing down. They seemed to really scout. They scouted us really well. I don't know if they caught on the formations or what, but so we had some daylight on some of those runs, but you would never know because they just really scouted really well. And I remember we was down 21-7, and we did those 3 straight runs. But Jacob Zeno should have pulled the ball. He had Bryce Davis right there. You go back and look at the film. If he would have tossed it to Bryce Davis, T-Palm had the safe his man blocked. It would have been like a just beat one man touchdown kind of scenario, and we really missed. We did a handoff on 3rd down that got stopped for nothing. Like I don't know what that read was like. But anyway, I think that we'll have a chance because they don't have a guy, just in short, and I think we'll be more physical. And I hopefully we can mix up play action, and if they are bringing those safeties down to run fit, hopefully we can go over the top of them this time because UTSA did it a lot and they guessed right a lot. And on the flip side, hopefully our safeties can have good run fits for one game. They can have good run fits and kind of aid us out. And we'll just see what happens from there.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I guess it's time to get into score predictions. And who wants to start us off?
Hey, before we jump into the score prediction, I have a trivia question.
Ooh, trivia time. Let's hear it.
Yes. So during the weekly press conference, UAB's weekly press conference, Trent Dilfer said that the Battle for the Bones trophy weighs 94 pounds. I did not know that. So my trivia question for you guys is, will Skull have over or under 94 yards rushing against Memphis?
Can we do total yards?
Yeah. Oh,
that
yeah,
would be a lot
just
easier.
rushes. Yeah.
Because I think he'll have over 94 total.
Hey, if he gets over 94 rushing yards, I think UAB wins this game.
Yeah,
The Battle of
94
the
rushing
Bones
yards
weight.
would be good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He had 116 against South Florida, and we've certainly seen Skull put up 100-plus yard performances. But to John's point, that would be a very positive sign if that trivia question, if the answer is yes.
Does he have, what you taking, John, over or under in here?
Oh, put me on the spot, man. Johnny on the spot. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to say under.
I'm going to say he breaks a long one, so I'm going to say over. I'm going to say he's going to break one from like hour 30 and for a score, like something that we need. And if we do that, like I think that's how he gets to over the 94. But that's gonna be tough. I'll feel way more comfortable if it was total yards. Mm-hmm. And really, I'm just trying to be trying to create debate here. But if he can break a long one, he's been looking way more healthier. Like he looks like that.
Oh yes.
So he has a chance, and we know how he can make people miss. So if he makes a safety or 2 miss, I think he gets over it.
And Jimmy, brought it up on the recap of the UTSA game, but Skull, I mean, he is on fire lately. Like you really can tell that he is playing the best ball this season so far up to this point. So Skull has definitely gotten to the Skull of old and kind of what we expected heading into the 2023 season. But Jimmy, what are your thoughts? Do you think he goes over or under?
I'm gonna be a homer on this pick and say I think he goes over. He's just been looking so good.
Let's go.
It's gonna come down to quantity. How many carries are gonna get. The last 2 games, he's averaging well over 5 yards a carry, and so you can do the math there. I'm not a math whiz, but he's got to get a fair amount of carries. This is a rivalry game, huge game. I'm putting the ball in Skull's hands as many times as possible, and let's say over.
And I thought too, speaking of running backs, before we get into score predictions, I thought BB was close to breaking a couple of those runs against UTSA. Like if he can just shed 1 or 2 tackles, and he was super close. And we saw it too in the South Florida film. I know that one big run that he had got called back from a holding call, but you can see, and I know it sucks that Isaiah Jacobs is out for the year, but we're going to need some Lee Beebe action too. So we'll see. All right, and I guess I'll go ahead and start us off. Score predictions. I'm gonna be the Debbie Downer again. I've got Memphis winning 42-28. So I hope I'm wrong. Darian, you want to give us your prediction?
I'm still thinking on it. I'm trying to get it together.
We can go to Jimmy. Jimmy, what you think?
John, stop being Debbie Downer. Is it raining at the beach? Is that
It is cold at the beach. It was 49 degrees this morning, dude. Like, what the hell? Like, I'm just trying to enjoy it. You got UAB losing to UTSA, man. You've got 49 degrees, wind 30 miles per hour or whatever. Like, it's just, come on now. Give me a break.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I think our listeners are used to me picking a loss. Last week, I did no research, and I just said, screw it, let's freaking go. Let's pick UAB to win. Just looking at, I talked about earlier, I think it could be a bad matchup, and that Memphis defense is just pretty impressive. That number of 23 points per game, and last week in the red zone we weren't very successful. We had those 2 field goals versus touchdowns, and I think that this could be another game in which UAB will put up a lot of yardage. It's going to come down, in my opinion, we talked about some other keys earlier about those red zone opportunities, how we fare in the red zone. Ultimately, I have UAB losing 23-31. So not nearly as high scoring as John is predicting, but I think it'll be pretty close. But I do see Memphis winning by 8.
Rivalry game. I think our guys will beat you. We got something to prove. We just got pushed around by UT. I think if the human emotion element come into this, I think we win on a walk-off field goal from 34 yards from Matt Quinn. We win 34.
Matty Ice, yeah.
34-31 UAB. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, I'm feeling it, man. Hey, and before we wrap, so this episode is dropping Wednesday morning, October the 18th. So October 17th is a special day for this podcast for 2 reasons. Well, I hope my wife don't listen, because the first reason I'm going to say it's Darian Smith's birthday. Let's go, man.
Baby.
And the second reason is it is my wife and I's anniversary. So we will be married 8 years now.
Wow.
So, yes. Hey, thanks, man. And happy birthday to you, man. Hey, so we've got too many good things going on this week. So I'm going to declare Darian will be right on his score prediction this Saturday.
Yes.
So
on a walk-off field goal. Let's do it, baby.
Let's go. Hey, Jimmy, send us out.
Hey, Blazer Nation, just blaze.